Imagine suspended weightlessness, a world woven entirely of shifting, shimmering blues. Sunlight from the surface filters down in scattered golden rays, piercing the sapphire canopy of the ocean to illuminate the dancing, microscopic life of the deep. Here, in the quiet, velvety embrace of the abyss, time slows to a gentle, rhythmic pulse. The water is cool, heavy, and infinitely calming, wrapping around you like a soft, weighted blanket of pure, liquid tranquility. You are drifting, entirely weightless, entirely safe. Far below the churning, frantic waves of the surface, there is only the profound, ancient peace of the silent sea. The pressure here is not a burden, but a gentle, holding force, a cradle of stillness that supports every fibre of your being. As you float in this twilight realm, where colours fade into indigo and violet, the sounds of the frantic world above disappear completely. They are replaced by the slow, distant murmur of moving water, a continuous rushing lullaby that speaks of eons past. In this perfect, undisturbed sanctuary, you do not need to try to remember. Your subconscious mind is a vast library, deep and boundless as the ocean itself. It will easily and effortlessly absorb these truths while you rest. Just let go. Release the need to hold on to any single thought. Allow the gentle currents of these words to carry you, washing away the tension of your day, leaving only a profound sense of awe and quietude. Let the narrative flow over you like the tide over smooth glass stones. Sink deeper into the sapphire light, knowing that as you relax, your mind is open, calm, and effortlessly receptive to the wonders of the deep. You're a passive, peaceful observer in a world that requires absolutely nothing from you. Just breathe and let the ocean's oldest guardians guide you into the deep blue of restorative sleep. Out of the indigo mist a shadow forms, impossibly vast and moving with a slow, deliberate grace that defies its monumental scale. It is the blue whale, the largest creature to have ever graced the earth, dwarfing even the most massive dinosaurs that once walked the land. Its skin is a mottled canvas of slate grey and pale blue, catching the faint filtered light like polished marble. To comprehend its size is to surrender to awe. Its heart alone is the size of a small automobile, a magnificent engine of life that beats with a slow, resounding thrum. When a blue whale dives deep, this massive heart can slow to just 2 beats per minute, a testament to the profound calm it carries within. You can almost feel the deep, resonant vibration of that heartbeat in the water around you, a slow pulse that synchronizes with your own deepening breath. This creature, a mountain of gentle flesh and bone, sustains its gargantuan form on the smallest of prey, filtering thousands of gallons of water through shimmering bristled baleen plates, a beautiful paradox of the ocean's delicate, intricate balance. As the blue whale glides onward, leaving a trail of bioluminescent sparkles in its wake, we sink further into the pelagic twilight, entering a realm of peculiar and beautiful rest. Here, suspended in the water column like ancient silent monoliths, a pod of sperm whales is sleeping. They do not lie flat. Instead, they enter a state of profound slumber vertically, their massive, block-shaped heads pointing directly toward the surface, or sometimes toward the quiet ocean floor. They hang completely motionless, an underwater forest of sleeping giants, perfectly balanced in the water's gentle embrace. For just a few hours a day, they slip into this collective, dreamless drift, entirely unresponsive to the world around them. The sight of these dark, wrinkled silhouettes hanging perfectly still in the quiet blue is a powerful reminder that even the ocean's most formidable deep-sea divers must eventually surrender to the deep restorative power of complete stillness. Through this stillness, a sound begins to weave, vibrating through the heavy water with an ethereal, haunting beauty. It is a melody of groans, rhythmic clicks, and long, mournful cries that stretch across the vast, echoing distances of the sea. This is the song of the humpback whale, a complex evolving symphony composed entirely by the males of the species. What is truly mesmerizing about these oceanic ballads is that they are not static. They change and evolve over time, like a slow-moving wave of culture sweeping across the dark ocean basins. A new melody, born in the warm waters of the Pacific, can be picked up, shared, and modified by different pods, travelling thousands of miles until every humpback in a hemisphere is singing a beautiful, haunting variation of the same chorus. It is a shared language of the deep, a collective lullaby that connects solitary wanderers across the dark, watery expanse. Just as their songs travel vast distances of space, some whales traverse unimaginable stretches of time. Far to the north, where the ocean is capped with shimmering plates of crystalline ice, and the water is thick, dark, and frigid enough to stop a human heart, swims the bowhead whale. Encased in a massive layer of insulating blubber, almost 2 feet thick, the bowhead lives life at a glacial, peaceful pace. They hold the secret of immense longevity, carrying centuries of quiet memory within their enormous dark bodies. Scientists have discovered bowhead whales swimming today that were born before the Industrial Revolution, living continuously for over 200 years. Imagine the quiet wisdom of a creature that has slowly swum through the icy darkness, while entire human eras have risen and faded above the surface. They are the living antiquities of the sea, breathing slowly, moving gently, outlasting time itself in the cold, clear sanctuary of the Arctic. In these same crystalline, ice-choked waters glides a creature pulled straight from the pages of myth, the unicorn of the sea. The narwhal is a small, pale whale adorned with a single, magnificent spiralling tusk that extends proudly forward from its upper lip. For centuries, this ivory spear was shrouded in mystery, believed to be a weapon for breaking ice or battling rivals, but it is actually an instrument of profound, delicate sensitivity. The tusk is an elongated, inside-out tooth, packed with millions of microscopic nerve endings exposed to the frigid water. It allows the narwhal to literally taste and feel the subtle shifts in the ocean around it, detecting minute changes in temperature, salinity, and the presence of distant prey. Through this delicate spiraled wand, the narwhal experiences the ocean with a level of sensory detail we can only begin to imagine, reading the cold, dark currents like a gentle breeze across bare skin. Sharing this icy twilight kingdom is a whale that seems to embody the very essence of joy and softness. The beluga whale, purely white like a pale ghost of the sea ice, moves with a fluid, captivating grace. Unlike most other whales, whose neck vertebrae are rigidly fused to support their massive heads, the beluga possesses unfused vertebrae. This grants them the extraordinary ability to turn their heads, nodding and looking around their environment with a deeply curious, almost human-like flexibility. Their broad foreheads, containing a soft, bulbous, fatty structure called a melon, are incredibly malleable. By changing the shape of this squishy melon, belugas can dramatically alter the acoustics of their vocalizations, and it almost appears as though they are making expressive faces, smiling and shifting their expressions in the dappled under-ice light. They chirp, whistle, and squeal constantly, bringing a bright, cheerful energy to the dark, freezing waters. As the Arctic ice begins to expand with the freezing breath of winter, a grand, slow journey begins. The grey whale, its skin a beautiful, rugged mosaic of slate-grey patches and pale, blooming barnacles, embarks on one of the longest annual migrations of any mammal on Earth. Driven by an ancient, unwavering internal compass, these gentle wanderers travel over 10,000 miles round trip, moving away from the rich, icy feeding grounds of the north down to the warm, protected, sun-baked lagoons of Baja California. They swim continuously, a steady, rhythmic progression along the coastal continental shelf, massive mothers gently guiding their newborn calves through the endless blue. It is a journey of supreme endurance, yet it is performed with a slow, unwavering patience. They do not rush against the current. They simply move with the shifting seasons, surrendering completely to the natural, turning cycles of the earth, a continuous living river of grey skin and warm breath flowing across the globe. This deep sense of family and lifelong connection brings us to the striking contrasting colours of the orca. Often misunderstood by those who only see their prowess, the killer whale is actually the largest member of the dolphin family, and they possess a social structure of breathtaking depth and complexity. Orcas live in tight-knit matriarchal pods, families that stay together for their entire lives, guided by the decades of gathered wisdom from the oldest females. But what is truly remarkable is their intricate communication. Each distinct family pod possesses its own unique dialect, a highly specific set of clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls that are learned, practiced, and passed down from generation to generation. Just as humans have distinct languages and regional accents, an orca can instantly recognize its family members in the pitch-black vast ocean simply by the unique, familiar cadence of their voice. It is a rich acoustic tapestry of belonging, an invisible, unbreakable thread of sound that binds them together in the endless sea. While the orcas speak in intricate, rapid dialects, other whales communicate in a register so deep and slow it is felt in the chest rather than heard by the ear. The fin whale, a sleek, beautifully asymmetrical giant often called the greyhound of the sea for its remarkable speed, possesses a voice of profound, low-frequency power. They produce sounds that plunge far beneath the lowest threshold of human hearing, deep thrumming infrasonic pulses that can travel uninterrupted for thousands of miles across the deep ocean floor. When a fin whale speaks, it is essentially sending a vibration through the very crust of the earth, a slow, seismic hum that allows them to maintain contact with others across entire, vast ocean basins. Imagine speaking softly and having the vibration of your voice gently caress the shores of a continent on the exact opposite side of the world. It is communication stripped of all urgency, a slow, continuous connection that pulses through the dark water like the ancient heartbeat of the planet itself. From the swift, vibrating depths, we drift slowly back upward, rising toward the surface where the light begins to warm the water once more. Here, floating peacefully beneath the rolling waves, we find the right whale, a creature of immense, beautiful rotundity and absolute calm. They're incredibly slow swimmers, lacking the prominent dorsal fin of their sleeker cousins, their broad, smooth black backs breaking the water's surface like smooth, dark islands emerging from the mist. Adorning their massive heads are rough, white, raised patches called callosities. These are not wounds or scars, but thickened, natural patches of skin that are completely unique to every single individual, acting much like a human fingerprint. Colonies of tiny, pale crustaceans called whale lice live entirely upon these patches, creating a striking visual contrast against the dark, sleek skin. The right whale feeds by simply opening its massive, arching jaws and swimming slowly, steadily through dense, blooming clouds of tiny plankton, skimming the surface in a continuous, effortless glide. There is no frantic chase, no struggle for survival, only the slow, peaceful, rhythmic consumption of the ocean's microscopic bounty, moving gently through the sunlit waves as you too drift gently, peacefully, toward the welcoming shores of deep restorative sleep. The soft, gentle skimming of the surface slowly dissolves into the vast echoing corridors of the deeper ocean, a place where sound travels as a physical, comforting vibration through the heavy, salted water. Hidden within this acoustic landscape is a melody so bizarre and metallic that, for decades, humanity mistook it for the quiet pinging of hidden submarines. It is the song of the minke whale, a sleek, elusive shadow that slips through the water with the grace of a falling leaf. In the deep winter of the Pacific, the minke produces a sound known only as the bowing, a resonating, reverberating hum that begins with a sharp, percussive strike and fades into a long, echoing decay, exactly like a giant, submerged tuning fork or a massive bell struck underwater. This strange, mechanical lullaby rings out through the liquid sapphire, a solitary note of connection sent into the quiet dark. It is a reminder that the ocean holds secrets we're only just beginning to hear, vibrating softly against your skin, inviting you to listen not with your ears, but with the quiet stillness of your resting body. Following the fading echo of that single metallic note, our minds drift downward, sinking slowly and peacefully like marine snow falling through the twilight zone. There is a profound, poetic beauty in the final quiet resting place of the ocean's giants. When a great whale finally completes its long, slow journey, and its massive heart beats its final peaceful rhythm, the creature does not simply vanish. It begins a gentle descent to the abyssal plain, miles beneath the sun's reach, creating what is known as a whale fall. In the freezing, eternal night of the deep ocean floor, where food is impossibly scarce and life moves at a glacial crawl, this fallen monument becomes a sudden, magnificent oasis. For over a century, a single resting whale will provide a rich, blooming sanctuary of warmth and sustenance, a bustling metropolis in the desert of the deep. It is the ultimate act of returning to the earth, a beautiful cycle where an end becomes a vibrant, sprawling beginning, nourishing thousands of tiny, specialized creatures that exist nowhere else on the planet, all living in the quiet shelter of the giant's memory. And as you visualize this gentle, peaceful return to the deep earth, your own breathing slows, your body feeling heavier, sinking comfortably and completely into the soft support beneath you, just as the ocean cradles its own, allowing gravity to hold you in a perfect, effortless embrace. The concept of hidden treasures in the dark brings us to a miraculous alchemy occurring within the belly of the sea's greatest hunter. The sperm whale, diving deep to grapple with the phantom shapes of giant squid, sometimes swallows the sharp, indigestible beaks of its prey. To protect its soft interior, the whale's body responds not with distress, but with a slow, deliberate creation. It coats these sharp irritants in a thick, waxy secretion, smoothing over the rough edges year after year, transforming discomfort into a smooth, dark pearl of the ocean. This is ambergris. Eventually released back into the sea, this dense, waxy stone floats upon the surface currents, baked by the sun and cured by the salt for decades. By the time it washes ashore on a quiet, distant beach, it has transformed completely. It smells of damp earth, sweet tobacco, and the ancient heavy perfume of the sea itself. It is a literal treasure forged from patience, reminding us that even the sharpest edges of our days can be softened, coated, and transformed into something of mysterious, lasting beauty by the simple, quiet passage of time. The smooth, polished texture of sea-cured ambergris reflects the polished ivory of the ocean's most mythical wanderer. We return to the crystalline cold of the Arctic to observe the narwhal's spiraled wand. While it appears to be a rigid, unyielding spear of solid bone, the truth of the narwhal's tusk is far more miraculous and forgiving. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, designed not to break against the harsh, freezing currents, but to yield to them. This magnificent, spiraled tooth, which can grow up to 10 feet in length, is incredibly flexible. It can bend up to a foot in any direction without snapping. Beneath the hard, polished exterior lies a soft, porous core that allows the tusk to sway and flex as the whale navigates the dense, shifting labyrinths of the pack ice. It is a powerful lesson written in ivory. True strength is not found in rigid resistance, but in the graceful ability to bend, to adapt, and to flow seamlessly with the overwhelming pressures of the world around you. This theme of shedding rigidity and embracing softness leads us to the warm, shallow estuaries where the summer sun melts the ice into fresh, flowing rivers. Here, the ghostly white beluga whales gather in their hundreds for a surprisingly tactile, joyous ritual. The beluga is one of the only whales to undergo a true seasonal molt. As the water warms, their skin becomes thick and takes on a yellowish hue. To shed this old layer, they seek out the shallow, sparkling river mouths lined with smooth, water-worn gravel and soft, yielding mud. In a state of pure, relaxed bliss, they roll and rub their bellies, their sides, and their soft, bulbous heads against the stones, using the earth itself as a natural, soothing spa. The coarse gravel gently buffs away the old, tired skin, revealing the brilliant, pristine, porcelain-white layer beneath. They twist and play in the shallow currents, entirely relaxed, physically sloughing off the past to emerge fresh, clean, and renewed in the summer sun. With every slow, deep exhale you take, you too are gently shedding the tired remnants of the day, letting go of every thought you no longer need, letting it all simply wash away into the gentle current, leaving your mind as a calm, peaceful slate, completely relaxed and beautifully empty. As the clean white shapes of the belugas fade into the turquoise shallows, the pull of the ocean draws us backward, away from the light, plunging us back into the profound, inky blackness of the extreme deep. We are searching for a creature that has mastered the art of the held breath. The Cuvier's beaked whale is a ghost of the open ocean, a shy, elusive diver that holds the record for the deepest and longest submergences of any mammal. When this whale breathes in the surface air and turns its tail to the sky, it is preparing to leave the world of a light behind entirely. It dives for over 3 hours, descending nearly 10,000 feet into the crushing pitch-black canyons of the abyss. To survive this unimaginable pressure, the whale does not fight it. It surrenders. It willingly collapses its own lungs, pressing the air away to prevent the nitrogen from entering its blood, slowing its heartbeat to an absolute crawl. It exists in a state of near-suspended animation, moving like a slow, deliberate shadow through a lightless realm where time itself seems to freeze. A master of complete internal stillness in the face of immense external weight. Rising from that crushing darkness, we follow a trail of shimmering iridescent silver ascending toward the surface. It is a spiral of trapped breath, catching the returning sunlight like a spinning chandelier of glass. This is the masterpiece of the humpback whale, a technique known as bubble net feeding, and it is a marvel of cooperative, synchronized thought. A pod of humpbacks will dive deep below a shimmering school of herring. One whale, the designated caller, begins to sing a deafening, echoing note that drives the terrified fish upward. Meanwhile, another whale swims in a perfect, tightening upward spiral, exhaling a continuous stream of air from its blowhole. These bubbles rise, expanding as they go, creating a literal cylindrical wall of air, a net made of nothing but breath and light. The fish, afraid to cross this shimmering curtain, are corralled into a tight shimmering ball. Then, moving as one single massive entity, the whales lunge upward through the center of the bubble cylinder, mouths open wide, breaking the surface in a spectacular eruption of water and life, a fleeting, beautiful architecture of air, built simply to dissolve. The exquisite telepathic choreography of the bubble net is a mere reflection of the profound, unbreakable emotional bonds that tie certain whales together. The pilot whale, a sleek, dark traveller of the deep, possesses a social structure of such intense loyalty it is almost impossible for the human mind to fully comprehend. They do not merely live in pods, they exist as a single, collective organism. A pilot whale will never leave the side of its family. If one member is sick, injured, or disoriented, the entire pod will stay with them, supporting their weight, refusing to abandon them even if it means putting their own lives at risk. They follow their matriarch with a blind, absolute devotion. This profound empathy is the invisible glue of their existence, a love so deep and unquestioning that their hearts seemingly beat in unison, vibrating together through the cold, dark water, forever tethered by an unbreakable thread of pure, silent devotion. And as this deep, unbreakable peace settles completely over you, your mind drifts further and further down, knowing you are entirely safe, knowing you are held by the quiet, steady current of the night, letting go completely. This feeling of supreme, unwavering nurture carries us across the ocean to the warm, sun-baked turquoise lagoons of Baja California. Here, in the shallow, protected waters, a grey whale mother floats lazily, offering sustenance to her newborn calf. The bond between them is tactile and constant, because a calf must grow incredibly fast to survive the impending migration back to the icy north. The mother's milk is unlike anything found on land. It is not a liquid, but a dense, rich paste, consisting of over 50% pure fat. It is as thick as soft clay or heavy cream. When the mother releases it into the warm salt water, it does not dissolve. It floats like a soft, cloudy ribbon, allowing the calf to swallow it whole. This incredibly concentrated nourishment is a pure distillation of the mother's own energy, a miraculous transfer of life that turns a small, wrinkled newborn into a robust, insulated giant in a matter of mere months, all happening in the slow, drowsy warmth of a protected, sunlit nursery. To witness these miracles, from the darkest abyss to the glaring, sun-drenched shallows, requires a very special kind of vision, a literal window into two completely different worlds. We look now into the eye of the whale. It is an eye adapted to an impossible spectrum of light. The ocean is an environment of intense, stinging salt and crushing pressure, so the whale's eye is encased in a thick protective layer of hardened jelly, a natural permanent diving mask. But more miraculously, the lens of the whale's eye is perfectly spherical, allowing it to see clearly in the murky violet shadows of the deep underwater world. Yet, when the whale breaches the surface and looks up at the bright burning sun, its pupil can constrict to a tiny pinpoint slit, blocking out the glare and allowing it to see the sky, the clouds, and perhaps the distant shore with perfect crystal clarity. It is an eye that simultaneously understands the dark, heavy mysteries of the deep and the bright, airy expanses of the world above, looking out with a calm, ancient, and perfectly balanced understanding of all things. The calm, ancient understanding of that perfectly balanced eye traces a path through the shimmering water, bringing our gaze to the surface where a massive tail breaks the plain. As a humpback whale prepares to dive, it lifts its colossal, wing-like flukes high into the misty air, holding them there for just a lingering moment against the sky. Here, on the underside of this vast fan of muscle and bone, lies a map of stars written in black and white, a sprawling, chaotic, and entirely unique mosaic of scars, scratches, and pigmentation. No two humpback flukes are ever the same. They are as distinct and singular as a human fingerprint, a completely individual signature painted by the ocean itself. Scientists and quiet observers can recognize a single wandering soul across decades, reading the geography of its life in the beautiful contrasting ridges and pale valleys of its tail. It is a silent mark of identity, a beautiful testament to the fact that in the boundless, seemingly uniform expanse of the deep, every single creature is uniquely known, carrying its own personal history woven securely into its very skin. The texture of this personal history written on the surface of the body leads us gently deeper into the history hidden within the bones themselves. Deep inside the sleek, perfectly streamlined form of modern whales lie the faint vestigial remnants of a life lived long ago, tiny, floating pelvic bones that no longer connect to any spine. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of the great whales walked upon the sun-baked earth on 4 legs, breathing the dry air and treading the dusty ground. But the ocean, with its gentle, persistent gravity and its promise of weightless freedom, called them back. Over eons, they slowly surrendered their terrestrial forms, their legs dissolving into the smooth, powerful curves of flippers and flukes, allowing the heavy water to carry their weight. It is the ultimate story of letting go, a slow, beautiful relinquishing of the hard, resisting earth to embrace the soft, yielding, infinite embrace of the sea, trading the heavy burden of gravity for a permanent state of serene, floating grace. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows, your own body feeling heavy and warm, willingly surrendering to the soft support beneath you, letting go of all resistance, just as the ancient whales surrendered to the waiting tide. While the memory of land slowly fades into the deep, the reality of the surrounding salt requires a gentle, continuous protection. Imagine the stinging spray of the ocean breeze and how our own eyes would instinctively weep. Whales, however, do not cry salty tears. To protect their sensitive, spherical eyes from the endless sting of the brine, their bodies produce an entirely different kind of comfort. Specialized glands in the corners of their eyes secrete a thick, heavy, oil-based fluid that coats the surface of the eye in a smooth, protective glaze. These are tears of pure, shielding warmth, a biological balm that washes away the harshness of the salt water and leaves behind a perfect, clear window into the blue. It is an act of constant, gentle self-soothing, a soft, lubricating veil that ensures their vision remains unclouded and entirely at peace, no matter how turbulent or chaotic the currents around them may become. The thick, protective warmth of these oceanic tears dissolves effortlessly into a vision of warm, fresh rain, carrying us away from the open sea and into the emerald heart of the Amazon rainforest. Here, the water is not blue, but a rich, tea-stained amber, flowing slowly through the trunks of flooded jungle trees. Swimming gracefully through this submerged canopy is the boto, the Amazon River dolphin. As they mature, these slender, highly flexible creatures flush with a stunning, soft pink colour, glowing like submerged roses against the dark, leafy shadows. The warm, fresh water is so shallow and complex that they must weave their way through tangled roots and drowned vines. Because of this, their neck vertebrae are completely unfused, allowing them to turn their long, delicate snouts from side to side, navigating the dense, flooded forest with an almost dreamlike, slow-motion agility. They are the blush of life in a drowned world, completely adapted to the slow, meandering pulse of the warm river, drifting through a submerged paradise where the trees literally sleep beneath the water. Gliding silently through the drowned trees feels like moving through a waking dream, which brings us to the profound, mysterious way that whales themselves experience sleep. Because they must consciously remember to rise to the surface to breathe, a whale can never fully surrender its entire mind to unconsciousness. Instead, they engage in unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. They literally put half of their brain to sleep at a time. One hemisphere plunges into deep restorative darkness, while the other remains a quiet, dim sentinel, ensuring the body continues to swim, balance, and breathe. The eye connected to the waking half of the brain remains open, a single window watching the world, while the other eye closes in perfect peace. After a few hours, they slowly, gently switch sides. It is a state of perpetual, twilight awareness, a beautiful balance between rest and vigilance, where dreams and reality flow together in a continuous, uninterrupted stream of consciousness, allowing them to rest profoundly while continuing their eternal journey. And as you drift along this continuous stream, you feel yourself slipping deeper into that twilight space, perfectly safe, perfectly watched over, your mind calming down, one quiet thought at a time. Echoing this twilight silence is a sound that shatters the darkness not with volume, but with incredible focused precision. In the absolute lightless depths, the sperm whale hunts not with its eyes, but with a rhythmic mechanical click. This sound is generated by forcing air through a pair of muscular valves near their blowhole. The sound waves then travelling through the massive oil-filled organ in their head called the spermaceti case. This organ acts as a powerful biological magnifying glass, focusing the sound into a directed acoustic laser beam. It is the single loudest sound produced by any animal on Earth, yet in the vastness of the abyss, it sounds like the slow, steady ticking of a grandfather clock. Click, click, click. These sound waves bounce off the soft bodies of deep-sea creatures in the pitch black, returning to the whale's jawbone, painting a flawless, three-dimensional picture of the dark world in their minds. They literally see with sound, navigating the deepest, most mysterious trenches of our planet by listening to the gentle echoes of their own quiet heartbeat in the dark. The sharp, focused energy of the acoustic click softens and blurs into a gentle brushing motion as we rise back into the sunlit, microscopic pastures of the surface. We observe the mouth of a feeding mystichete, a giant baleen whale. Instead of teeth, their upper jaws are lined with hundreds of long, flexible plates that look like giant dark combs, fringed with fine, hair-like bristles. The texture of this thought is surprisingly familiar, because baleen is made entirely of keratin. It is the exact same substance that forms human fingernails and the soft hair on our heads. Imagine a mouth lined with thousands of soft, sweeping brooms. They take in colossal gulps of ocean water, and then slowly, powerfully press their massive tongues against the roof of their mouths, forcing the water out through the bristles, leaving only the tiny glittering krill trapped inside. It is feeding reduced to a gentle, filtering sieve, a passive, peaceful harvesting of the ocean's smallest gifts, facilitated by the same material that grows at the ends of our own resting fingers. The slow, deliberate squeezing of water through the baleen mimics the incredibly slow, measured rhythm that takes over a whale's body when they dive deep. This is the physiological magic of bradycardia, a dramatic, intentional slowing of the heart rate. When a mighty fin whale takes a breath and points its head toward the ocean floor, its body instantly knows how to conserve its most precious resource. Blood flow is restricted from the extremities, pooling warmly and safely around the brain and the vital organs. The massive rhythmic thumping of their giant heart begins to wind down, dropping from a resting rate of perhaps 15 beats per minute to just 2 or 3 slow, heavy pulses. It is an extreme, profound meditation, a physical slowing of time itself within the body. They enter a state of supreme, energy-saving tranquility, where every single movement is calculated, smooth, and devoid of rush, teaching us the beautiful power of simply slowing down when the pressure around us begins to rise. And as you visualize that slow, heavy, peaceful heartbeat, you feel your own pulse naturally matching its calm, deliberate rhythm, your chest rising and falling with the deep, slow swells of the ocean, sinking deeper and deeper into profound rest. The steady, comforting rhythm of that slowed heart naturally reaches out, seeking the comforting rhythm of another. The ocean, despite its vast and echoing emptiness, is a place of enduring, beautiful friendships. Among humpback whales, particularly the females, scientists have observed the formation of lifelong platonic bonds. After migrating thousands of miles across the lonely open ocean, these majestic individuals will seek out their specific preferred companions in the cold, nutrient-rich feeding grounds of the north. Year after year, like clockwork, the same pairs and trios will reunite, swimming side by side, their pectoral fins occasionally brushing against one another in a gentle, tactile greeting. They coordinate their movements, they rest together in the quiet afternoons, and they simply share the vastness of their world with a chosen confidant. It is a profound reminder that even the largest, most independent wanderers of the sea crave the soft, familiar comfort of companionship, holding on to bonds of affection that bridge the seemingly endless, isolating miles of the open water. The warmth of this emotional connection slowly leads us away from the cold feeding grounds, guiding our path toward the bright, sun-drenched tropics, where the water feels like a warm, soothing bath. Here, we find the sleek, striking forms of killer whales, embarking on a journey not for food, but for the pure physical sensation of renewal. In the freezing waters of the Antarctic, the skin of an orca can become coated in a thick golden brown layer of microscopic algae called diatoms. The cold water slows their natural skin regeneration, making them feel heavy and dull, and so they swim for weeks, crossing thousands of miles of open ocean at an incredible speed, pushing themselves toward the warm tropical latitudes. When they finally arrive, the warm water acts like a key, unlocking their slowed metabolism. They begin to shed the old diatom-crusted layers of skin, rubbing themselves gently in the warm currents until they are completely restored to their brilliant stark black and gleaming white. It is a massive hemispheric migration, undertaken solely to feel clean, warm, and brand new. A literal shedding of the old, cold burdens to step freely into the bright, refreshing embrace of a warmer, lighter existence. This graceful movement from the heavy cold into the buoyant light mirrors a continuous life-giving cycle, the profound, rhythmic breathing of the ocean itself, driven entirely by the movements of the whales. In the quiet, observant world of marine biology, this is known as the whale pump, and it is a masterpiece of natural planetary alchemy. When the great baleen whales dive deep into the twilight zones to feed, they gather immense concentrations of nutrients from the dark, heavy depths, collecting iron and nitrogen that have sunken away from the sun. Then, as they rise slowly toward the sunlit surface to take a breath, they release vast, cloudy plumes of rich, fertilizing waste. In the crystal-clear, sun-drenched upper waters, these dark plumes act like a sudden scattering of magical dust over a barren liquid garden. Instantly, microscopic phytoplankton bloom into shimmering emerald green clouds, creating the very foundation of the oceanic food web and generating more than half of the oxygen we breathe. The whales are not just passengers in the sea, they are its ancient gardeners, churning the deep, dark wealth upward to kiss the sunlight, slowly and continuously cultivating the breath of the entire planet. The gentle, blooming spread of these microscopic sunlit gardens provides the perfect, nurturing cradle for a miracle of rapid, entirely effortless growth. We return to the colossal, mottled blue form of the blue whale, but this time our focus softens onto the calf resting gently at its mother's side. Born into the weightless liquid world already weighing as much as a mature elephant, the calf does not need to struggle, hunt, or strive to survive. It simply floats, bathed in the protective, shifting shadow of its massive mother, and drinks. The milk it receives is thick, impossibly rich, and flows with the warm, heavy abundance of life. Through this quiet, daily nourishment, the calf achieves something astounding. It gains roughly 200 pounds every single day, nearly 10 pounds an hour. Yet there is no frantic energy, no stretching, no strain. The heavy salt water perfectly supports this monumental expansion. The calf just exists, resting softly in the gentle currents, expanding gracefully and effortlessly into its destiny as the largest creature on Earth, teaching us the profound, quiet beauty of simply allowing ourselves to grow in a space of total, unwavering support. And as this young giant floats peacefully, supported by the immense invisible hands of the ocean, its curiosity occasionally drifts upward beyond the liquid ceiling of its watery world. This gentle curiosity manifests in a breathtaking silent behaviour known as spy hopping. Moving with extraordinary control and quiet strength, a whale will position itself vertically in the water column, slowly lifting its massive dripping head up through the surface of the waves. It does not breach or splash. It simply rises, like a smooth, dark obelisk emerging from the sea, and holds perfectly still. The water cascades down its slick, rubbery skin in shimmering sheets, reflecting the golden, fading light of the setting sun. For several long, quiet minutes, the whale just looks. It observes the rolling clouds, the distant jagged coastline, the strange airy world above the waves. It is a moment of pure, silent contemplation, a quiet witnessing of two separate realms meeting at the boundary of the surface, suspended in a state of perfectly balanced, observant grace. And as you imagine this quiet, watchful stillness, holding perfectly steady in the calm, quiet water, your own eyes rest, your mind settles completely, floating comfortably on the edge of sleep. Allowing the gentle, rocking waves of relaxation to wash completely over you, this quiet observation of the sky sinks slowly down, drifting deep into the massive, echoing architecture of thought itself. Beneath the surface, in the block-shaped, heavily scarred head of the sperm whale, resides the largest single brain that has ever existed on this planet. Weighing nearly 20 pounds, it is a vast, folded landscape of complex grey matter, infinitely more dense and convoluted than our own. It is a mind that has evolved entirely free from the need to build fires, forge tools, or construct cities on land. Instead, this magnificent intellect is devoted entirely to navigating the pitch-black acoustic canyons of the abyss, to remembering the shifting liquid geography of the oceans over a lifespan of 70 years, and to maintaining profound, lifelong emotional bonds with its kin. One can only imagine the sheer, enveloping depth of a sperm whale's thoughts. The slow, profound, abstract dreams that must drift through such a monumental mind as it hangs, suspended in the freezing, absolute darkness of the ocean floor, mapping the invisible world with sound and memory. The texture of such immense thought must surely be woven with complex, ever-shifting melodies, a symphony of the deep that refuses to be constrained by repetition. Far away, under the jagged, shifting ceiling of the Arctic ice, the bowhead whale proves that the ocean is not just a place of ancient memory, but a venue for brilliant, continuous improvisation. While other whales sing highly structured, predictable songs that change slowly over years, the bowhead is the solitary jazz musician of the sea. Their songs are wildly diverse, featuring multiple complex vocal streams, deep echoing groans, and high soaring trills that vibrate through the freezing water. What is truly mesmerizing is that they never sing the same song from one year to the next. Each winter, as the absolute darkness of the polar night descends, they invent entirely new, elaborate acoustic masterpieces, casting fresh, improvised sonic art into the freezing void. It is a beautiful, endless stream of pure creativity, ensuring that the dark, icy waters are always filled with a completely unique, never-before-heard lullaby. Echoing this solitary creativity is a song that travels completely alone across the vast, empty plains of the Pacific, a melody born of a beautiful, mysterious isolation. It is the voice of the 52 Hz whale, a creature whose identity remains hidden in the deep, known only by the unique acoustic signature of its voice. Unlike any other species, this individual sings at a frequency of exactly 52 Hz, a pitch slightly higher than the lowest note on a tuba. It is a frequency completely ignored by the great baleen whales, whose voices rumble much lower and entirely missed by the high-pitched whistles of the dolphins. And so, this solitary wanderer calls out into the endless blue, sending its beautiful anomalous song echoing across thousands of miles of ocean, day after day, year after year, without ever receiving a reply. Yet, it continues to sing, it continues to travel. It is a profound, comforting reminder that there is a quiet, enduring beauty in simply expressing your own unique truth, even when you are wandering through the vastest, quietest spaces of your life. As the lingering notes of that solitary song fade into the gentle, rushing currents, you allow yourself to sink deeper into your own peaceful solitude, feeling perfectly content in the quiet, perfectly relaxed, knowing that your own quiet rhythm is exactly as it should be, resting safely in the dark. The beautiful, solitary nature of that unique frequency finds a visual echo in the sweeping, asymmetrical form of the fin whale the second largest creature on Earth. In a natural world that usually favours perfect mirrored symmetry, the fin whale embraces a stunning, swirling imbalance of shadow and light. If you look at the left side of its sleek, pointed face, you will see a smooth, dark, slate-grey canvas, blending perfectly into the murky waters of the deep. But if you slowly glide to its right side, a startling contrast is revealed. The lower right jaw is a brilliant, blazing white, sweeping up into complex, light-coloured swirls behind its eye. This is not a mistake of nature, but a highly specialised adaptation for the elegant dance of the hunt. When the whale circles a shimmering school of tiny fish, it rolls to the right, flashing that brilliant white jaw to startle and herd its prey into a tight, swirling ball. It is a creature painted half in shadow, half in light, moving with breathtaking speed, a living embodiment of the delicate, swirling balance between the dark and the bright. This dance of shadow and light creates a subtle, shifting vibration in the heavy water, a vibration that is not captured by delicate external ears, but felt deeply and powerfully within the very core of the skeleton. To understand how the great baleen whales hear the low, rumbling voices of their kin across entire ocean basins, we must look to the massive, curved architecture of their lower jaw bones. These immense, sweeping mandibles are not just for filtering water, they are sophisticated biological acoustic antennas. Embedded within the dense bone is a channel filled with a specialised, highly conductive acoustic fat. When the deep, infrasonic hum of another whale travels through the ocean, it strikes the jawbone, causing the entire massive structure to gently vibrate. This vibration is carried through the acoustic fat directly to the inner ear, allowing the whale to essentially hear the world through the slow, resonant trembling of its own skull. It is a sensory experience of profound physical depth, feeling the distant murmurs of the ocean vibrating gently against the very foundation of their being. The physical, resonant vibration of the jawbone softens and lightens, lifting us up toward a delicate, playful manipulation of the water itself. In the clear, sun-dappled shallows, the brilliant white beluga whales engage in an activity that seems entirely devoid of practical purpose, existing only for the sheer artistic joy of creation. With a sharp, precise puff of air from their blowholes, they can blow perfect, silvery vortex rings, halos of pure, shimmering air that spin rapidly as the water pressure holds their delicate shape in the blue. The belugas will watch these delicate silver hoops drift upward, chasing them, gently biting them to break them into thousands of tiny sparkling bubbles, or even swimming directly through the centre of the rings like graceful aquatic acrobats. It is a breathtaking display of underwater magic, a reminder that even in the vast, wild and ancient expanse of the sea, there is always time for play, always room for the creation of fleeting, beautiful things that exist purely to bring a moment of absolute spinning delight. Watching those silver halos spin and slowly dissolve into the endless blue, you feel your own tension dissolving with them, spinning softly away into nothingness, leaving only a calm, heavy, and profound peace, pulling you down into absolute rest. As those delicate silver bubbles of breath rise and finally vanish into the open air, they remind us of the atmosphere we all share and the immense silent guardianship these gentle giants provide for the entire planet. Whales are not just the ocean's gardeners, they are the ancient living guardians of our sky. Over a lifespan that can span centuries, a single great whale will absorb tons of carbon from the atmosphere, locking it safely away within its colossal, expanding body of fat and muscle. They are massive, swimming carbon sinks, breathing in the heavy exhaust of the world and purifying the air above simply by existing. And when their long, peaceful lives finally reach their end, they carry all of that accumulated carbon down with them, sinking slowly into the crushing, freezing depths of the abyss, locking it safely away in the dark, silent earth for thousands of years. It is a final, beautiful act of service. A quiet, unseen sacrifice that heals the world from the bottom of the sea. ensuring that as they rest perfectly in the deep, the rest of the world can continue to breathe, to dream, and to sleep under a clear, quiet sky. Beneath that clear, quiet sky, the mirror of the ocean surface is suddenly broken by a plume of pure, catching light. The exhalation of a great whale is a magnificent event, a sudden, explosive eruption of life into the thin air. It is not a fountain of liquid water, as ancient sailors once believed, but a powerful release of hot, highly pressurized air from the deep lungs meeting the cooler atmosphere of the surface. As this invisible breath explodes upward at hundreds of miles per hour, it instantly condenses into a towering, beautiful pillar of white mist. In the slanted golden light of the late afternoon, or the pale silver glow of the morning sun, this towering mist catches the light, bending the rays into brilliant, fleeting rainbows. It is a temporary soaring architecture of prismatic colour, hanging suspended against the blue for just a heartbeat, before drifting softly away on the ocean breeze, a bright, ephemeral monument to the simple, profound, and continuous act of taking a breath. The misty remnants of that fleeting rainbow carry a texture that goes far beyond visual light, drifting down to touch the senses with a heavy, atmospheric warmth. The breath of a whale carries the very essence and aroma of the deep sea. It is incredibly warm, heated by the massive internal roaring furnace of their mountainous, heavily insulated bodies. Within that soft mist are tiny microscopic droplets of rich oil and the deep earthy scent of the ocean floor, a fragrance reminiscent of heavy rain falling on dry stones, crushed green kelp, and the ancient purified salt of the sea. To feel the edge of this mist wash over you is to be anointed by the ocean's own secret perfume. It is an enveloping, comforting warmth that speaks of life thriving in the dark, crushing cold miles below, wrapping around you like a thick heated blanket woven from the breath of the sea itself. The warm, earthy resonance of that breath sinks back beneath the waves, transforming from mist into pure, vibrating acoustic energy. When we speak, air rushes outward over our vocal cords, but the great whales create their symphonies in an entirely different internal manner. They possess no vocal cords in the way we understand them. Instead, hidden deep within their massive throats, they use thick-walled laryngeal sacs and complex folds of specialized tissue. What is truly magical is that they do not even need to exhale to sing. They can seamlessly recycle the air inside their own bodies, passing it back and forth between internal chambers to create those haunting, earth-shaking moans and high, ethereal whistles. It is an entirely closed, perfectly efficient system of music. A whale can sing its beautiful, solitary song in the pitch-black abyss for hours, without ever losing a single breath to the water, their bodies acting as living, vibrating, resonant instruments of the deep. And as you feel that deep internal resonance within your own imagination, your chest rises and falls with a newfound, effortless ease, drawing in the quiet peace of the night and exhaling all remaining tension, sinking heavily, comfortably, and securely into the soft support beneath you. This feeling of smooth, effortless flow mirrors the very surface of the whales themselves as they glide through the heavy, resisting water. To move a body the size of an entire building through a medium as dense as the ocean requires a miraculous, almost impossible lack of friction. The skin of a dolphin or a whale is a marvel of evolutionary smoothness, but it is not a static armour. It is a canvas constantly, rapidly renewing itself. A beluga or an orca replaces its outermost layer of skin cells up to 12 times a day. As they swim through the cold currents, a microscopic, invisible blizzard of old cells is continuously left behind in their wake, ensuring that their surface remains perfectly slick, perfectly streamlined, and free of any drag. It is a state of perpetual, microscopic renewal, constantly shedding the tired layers of the past to slip effortlessly and seamlessly into the future, moving through the ocean like a drop of polished silver sliding over perfect glass. The polished, slipping grace of their skin flows outward, shaping the very contours of their massive wing-like limbs. Look closely at the leading edge of a humpback whale's colossal pectoral flippers, which can stretch up to 15 feet long, glowing pale white in the dappled underwater light. They are not perfectly smooth, as one might expect, but are lined with large, prominent bumps known as tubercles. Pure logic might suggest these bumps would create clumsy resistance, but the physical world is full of beautiful, poetic surprises. These tubercles actually channel the rushing water into tight spinning vortices, organising the chaos of the ocean into perfect lifting streams of fluid dynamics. This allows the massive heavy whale to perform incredibly tight, acrobatic turns and delicate banking manoeuvres that completely defy its immense weight. It is a lesson written in flesh and bone, showing us that the rough, uneven edges of our own lives can sometimes be the exact things that give us the grace to navigate the most difficult swirling currents. Navigating these swirling currents requires a quiet, observant patience, a profound stillness reflected perfectly in the dark, absorbing pools of the whale's gaze. The eye of a large whale is typically the size of a grapefruit, set far back on the sloping immense canvas of its head. The iris is often a deep, rich, liquid brown, so dark it appears almost like a void, designed to absorb every available stray photon of light in the dim violet twilight zones. Behind the retina lies a brilliant reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum, glowing gently like a submerged mirror of polished abalone shell. This elegant biological mirror allows the faint, ghostly light of the abyss to pass through the retina twice, granting them spectacular vision in the gloom. To look into that enormous dark eye is to look into a well of ancient unbothered calm, an eye that has silently witnessed the slow, tectonic shifting of the ocean floor and the quiet, glittering dances of bioluminescent stars in the deepest, most undisturbed dark. And as you hold the image of that deep, calm gaze perfectly still in your mind, your own eyes rest heavy and quiet, the darkness behind your closed lids feeling safe, expansive, and incredibly peaceful, drawing you further and further down into undisturbed sleep. Behind those deep, unbothered eyes lies a vast, echoing library of lived experience, guiding entire generations through the featureless, shifting blue. In the complex, tight-knit societies of orcas and sperm whales, the survival of the family is entirely dependent on the memories held by the elders. The oldest females, the matriarchs, are the living, breathing encyclopedias of the ocean. In times of profound environmental change, when the usual familiar feeding grounds grow barren and the water turns cold and empty, the matriarch will summon memories from 50, perhaps 60 years prior. She will confidently lead her massive family across hundreds of miles of open, trackless ocean to a specific hidden seamount or a forgotten rich estuary she visited only once as a tiny calf. It is navigation by pure inherited wisdom, a beautiful reliance on the deep, enduring memories of those who have swum the long, quiet miles before us. This invisible, inherited map of memory aligns perfectly with another, even more mysterious map that overlays the entire globe. The open ocean is a vast, seemingly identical expanse of shifting water, completely devoid of landmarks, roads, or signs. Yet, whales migrate thousands of miles across hemispheres with pinpoint mathematical precision. Deep within their brains, scientists believe they possess microscopic crystals of magnetite, turning their very minds into living biological compasses. They do not navigate by sight, but by feeling the invisible magnetic grid of the Earth itself. They sense the subtle pulls, the unseen valleys, and the magnetic mountains of the planet's energy field, reading the invisible contour lines that flow silently from pole to pole. They swim along massive magnetic highways, guided by a silent planetary pull, entirely surrendered to the vast invisible forces that hold the world together, trusting the ancient spin of the Earth to guide them safely home. The steady, invisible pull of that magnetic tide eventually draws the weary travellers into a state of absolute, suspended, and beautiful rest. When the sea is calm, rolling in long, glassy, rhythmic swells under the light of a pale silver moon, you might find a pod of magnificent whales engaging in a behaviour known as logging. They bring their massive bodies entirely to the surface, align themselves horizontally with the rolling waves, and simply turn off. Their broad, dark backs break the surface tension, resembling a quiet forest of ancient floating logs adrift on the gentle tide. They lie completely motionless, letting the rhythmic rocking motion of the ocean cradle their immense heavy weight. The water laps softly against their skin, a continuous whispering lullaby. In this state, they are completely vulnerable, yet completely at peace, demonstrating the profound courage required to simply stop, float, and let the world softly carry you for a while. The gentle, rocking suspension of the surface is a stark, fascinating contrast to the immense, crushing embrace of the extreme depths. As a sperm whale wakes from its logging slumber and dives miles down into the abyssal trenches, the weight of the water above becomes a monumental, crushing physical force, enough to instantly shatter the thick steel hull of a modern submarine. But the whale does not break. Its skeletal structure is a masterpiece of yielding, flexible architecture. Their massive rib cages are not rigidly fixed to their spines like ours. They are hinged with soft, highly flexible cartilage. As the deep pressure mounts, the whale's entire chest cavity simply folds inward, collapsing gently and safely upon itself. The lungs compress perfectly, the heart slows, and the bones bow deeply to the immense weight of the ocean without snapping or resisting. It is the ultimate physical manifestation of absolute surrender, teaching us that in the face of overwhelming, crushing pressure, the greatest strength lies not in rigid defiance, but in the graceful ability to fold, to yield, and to peacefully adapt. The profound ability to yield to the crushing weight of the abyss echoes a deeper, almost mystical resilience found in the very marrow of their being. This physical adaptability is mirrored in the way whales manage their lifeblood, a secret internal alchemy that allows them to thrive where other life would simply cease to exist. A whale's blood is not like the thin, pale fluid of land-dwelling creatures. It is a deep, dark, almost obsidian-coloured liquid, saturated with an incredible concentration of hemoglobin. This allows them to store massive amounts of oxygen directly within their blood cells. But even more miraculous is their muscle tissue, which is packed with a protein called myoglobin. This protein gives whale meat its distinctively dark, nearly black appearance, acting as a secondary internal oxygen tank. When they dive into the lightless canyons, they are essentially walking, or swimming, oxygen reservoirs, every fibre of their being holding on to the breath of life with a quiet, unwavering tenacity. It is a state of total internal abundance, a body that carries everything it needs within itself, moving through the empty dark with a quiet, self-sustained confidence. The dark, rich depths of that oxygen-filled muscle provide the heavy power needed for one of the most spectacular displays of pure, joyful energy in the natural world. From the crushing pressure of the deep, a humpback whale begins a powerful rhythmic ascent, its massive flukes driving it upward with increasing momentum. Suddenly, the surface tension shatters in a gargantuan explosion of white foam and crystalline spray as 40 tons of living grace launches itself entirely into the thin air. This is breaching. For a heartbeat, the whale is suspended between the sea and the stars, a monumental arch of dark skin and pale barnacles before gravity reclaims its own. The resulting crash is a thunderous boom that can be heard for miles underwater, a resonant thump that vibrates through the very bones of any creature nearby. While scientists debate its purpose, communication, cleaning, or play, it feels most like an act of pure, exuberant being, a sudden, magnificent exclamation point in the long, quiet sentence of their lives. And as the echoes of that magnificent splash slowly fade into the rhythmic hum of the ocean, Your own breathing settles into a steady, peaceful cadence. Each breath is a gentle wave, rising and falling, drawing you deeper into the soft, warm embrace of your own stillness. The thunderous energy of the breach eventually settles into a delicate, microscopic ritual of care that takes place on the very surface of the skin. To look closely at the head of a right whale or a grey whale is to see a thriving miniature ecosystem of whale lice and barnacles. These tiny, pale crustaceans are not parasites in the traditional harmful sense. They are passengers on a magnificent, slow-moving island. The barnacles cement themselves to the whale's skin, creating hard, white, crystalline patches that look like flowering salt. The whale lice, in turn, act as tiny, diligent gardeners, scurrying over these rough patches to eat away dead skin and algae. It is a beautiful, symbiotic contract. The whale provides a safe, mobile home and a constant flow of nutrient-rich water, and in return, these tiny creatures keep the giant skin clean and healthy. It is a reminder that even the most monumental beings are part of a delicate web of mutual support. That no one, no matter how large, truly travels alone. This texture of shared existence, of life clinging to life, leads our minds to the strange and wonderful world of the remora, the hitchhiker of the blue. These slender silver fish possess a specialized dorsal fin that has evolved into a powerful oval suction cup on the top of their heads. With a gentle, effortless touch, they attach themselves to the smooth underbelly or the broad flanks of a passing whale. They do not drain the whale's energy, they simply ride the slipstream, sheltered by the giant's massive bulk and feasting on the small scraps left behind from the whale's meals. For the remora, the whale is a protective god, a moving sanctuary that provides travel, food, and safety from predators. The whale, in its immense and patient grace, seems barely to notice its tiny companions, allowing them to cling and drift through the endless blue as part of its own wide, watery shadow, a silent partnership based on the quiet, simple acceptance of another's presence. The silent acceptance of the remora is a mere whisper compared to the profound, generational bonds that define the life of a female sperm whale. In the deep, sapphire waters of the tropics, these whales live in social units that are remarkably stable, lasting for decades. But within these groups, there is a specialized role known as allomothering. When a mother sperm whale must dive deep, thousands of feet down into the lightless pressure, to hunt for giant squid, she cannot take her young calf with her. The calf's lungs cannot yet handle the pressure, and its body cannot hold its breath for long. And so, the mother leaves her precious calf at the surface in the care of a babysitter, another female in the pod, often an aunt or a grandmother. This guardian stays at the surface, protecting the calf from predators and keeping it company until the mother returns from the dark. It is a social contract written in the heart, a profound system of communal trust that ensures the next generation is never left alone in the vast, indifferent expanse of the sea. As you imagine that small calf resting safely under the watchful eye of its guardian, you feel a sense of profound security wrapping around you. You are safe, you are watched over, you are free to let go and sink into the quiet, dark depths of your own dreams. The protective, communal warmth of the pod eventually finds its way to the most mysterious and rare of all oceanic encounters, the sight of an albino whale. In the vast, dark blue theatre of the ocean, a creature of pure, ghostly white occasionally emerges like a living dream. The most famous of these, a humpback named Migaloo, appears in the sunlit waters off Australia, a brilliant, porcelain-white silhouette against the sapphire deep. These whales are not a different species, but a rare manifestation of the ocean's hidden diversity. Seeing one is like witnessing a fallen star moving through the water, a silent, radiant ghost that reminds us of the infinite variations of life. They move with the same grace and the same slow, rhythmic breath as their darker kin, accepted entirely by their pods, their white skin catching the sunlight and glowing with an ethereal inner fire that seems to light up the water for miles around. the ethereal glow of the white whale fades into the soft, shimmering texture of the ocean's most delicate food source. In the Southern Ocean, surrounding the frozen continent of Antarctica, billions upon billions of tiny translucent crustaceans known as krill dance in the currents. Each one is no larger than a human thumb, with glowing bioluminescent organs that make the water sparkle like a submerged galaxy. These tiny creatures are the fuel for the world's largest appetites. A single blue whale can consume 4 tons of these glittering shrimp-like beings in a single day. It is a beautiful, staggering paradox of scale, that the most monumental physical form in the history of the world is sustained entirely by the most delicate, fragile, and translucent of lives. It is a reminder that the great and the small are inextricably linked, that the strength of the giant is built upon the abundance of the tiny. This link between the immense and the microscopic is managed by a tongue of such colossal proportions it defies human imagination. The tongue of a blue whale is a soft, muscular landscape the size of a fully grown African elephant. When the whale opens its massive pleats and takes in a volume of water larger than its own body weight, the tongue acts as a magnificent, flexible piston. With a slow, powerful contraction, it pushes the sea back out through the baleen plates, trapping the thousands of pounds of krill against the bristles. This tongue is not just a tool for eating. It is a sensitive, tactile organ, capable of feeling the subtle vibrations of the water and the textures of the microscopic life it gathers. It is a soft, warm mountain of muscle, moving with a slow, deliberate strength to sustain the life of the gargantuan being that carries it. A hidden engine of survival tucked away in the quiet, dark cavern of the giant's mouth. The slow, rhythmic pulse of that massive tongue leads us into the quiet, rhythmic movements of the whale's tail, the engine of its 1,000-mile journeys. Unlike the tails of fish, which move from side to side, the flukes of a whale move up and down, a motion that perfectly mirrors the undulating, rhythmic cycles of the earth and the breath. This vertical movement is a remnant of their ancient land-dwelling past, a ghostly echo of the way mammals run across the earth. In the water, this movement becomes a slow, powerful, sculling motion, driving the whale forward with an efficiency that no human machine can match. Each stroke is a masterpiece of fluid grace, pushing against the heavy water with a calm, unwavering power that seems to come from the very core of the planet itself. It is the steady, thrumming beat that carries them through the storms and the calms, a persistent, patient rhythm that never tires and never falters. And as you focus on that steady up and down rhythm, you feel your own body being gently rocked by a similar invisible tide, a slow, comforting movement that carries you away from the shore of wakefulness, drifting further and further out into the calm, quiet sea of sleep. This persistent, patient rhythm eventually carries the whale to the end of its long, slow odyssey, where even the bones themselves begin to tell a final, beautiful story. Inside the massive flippers of a whale, hidden beneath layers of blubber and skin, is a skeletal structure that looks hauntingly familiar. If you were to see the bones of a whale's flipper laid out, you would see the unmistakable shape of a hand, 5 long, bony fingers, a wrist and an arm. These are the pendactyl limbs of their ancestors, the same bones found in our own hands, now elongated and wrapped in a sleek aquatic glove. It is a silent internal bridge between our world and theirs, a reminder that beneath the vast differences in scale and environment, we are made of the same ancient starlit stuff. Their hands now stroke the deep currents, while ours rest softly on the sheets, but the blueprint of our existence is shared, a quiet, skeletal whisper of kinship that binds the dreamer on the land to the giant in the deep. The skeletal hand reaching from the deep connects us to the inner mechanisms of their voice, a voice that begins not in the throat, but high within the head, just beneath the blowhole. Here lie the phonic lips, specialized, vibrating tissues that act like a submerged violin bow, creating sound through the rhythmic passage of air between internal sacs. When these lips vibrate, they create the complex clicks and whistles that define the whale's world. It is a music born of pressure and air, a symphony generated within the very structure of the skull. The sound waves are not lost to the water, they are channeled through the massive oil-filled cavities of the head, becoming focused and powerful. It is a slow internal vibration that pulses through the whale's entire being, a constant resonant reminder of their presence in the vast echoing silence of the sea. The vibration of these phonic lips flows seamlessly into the soft, bulbous forehead of the dolphin and the smaller whales, an organ of pure liquid focus known as the melon. This is not bone or muscle, but a reservoir of specialized acoustic oil, as clear and viscous as honey. The whale can use its facial muscles to physically change the shape of this melon, much like a master photographer adjusts a glass lens to bring the world into sharp, crystalline focus. By shifting the shape of the oil, the whale directs its sound beams with surgical precision, piercing through the dark, murky water to see the invisible. It is a forehead made of liquid light and focused sound, a soft, rounded window that allows them to perceive the architecture of the deep with a clarity we can only imagine. And as this liquid focus settles into your mind, your own focus begins to soften, your breathing slowing, your thoughts drifting like oil on still water, perfectly calm, perfectly at rest. This acoustic lens allows the whale to reach out into the darkness with a sensitivity that borders on the miraculous. A dolphin can detect a small object, no larger than a coin, from the distance of an entire football field, even in the absolute blackness of a silt-filled river. They can sense the texture of a target, the density of its core, and the rhythm of a heartbeat within another living being. It is a world where sight is replaced by a profound, tactile hearing, where every click sent out returns with 1,000 stories of the environment. The sea is never truly dark to them. It is a shimmering tapestry of echoes, a world of shapes defined by the way sound bounces and bends. They move through this world of liquid sound with a confidence that is deep and unwavering, trusting the echoes to guide them through the labyrinth of the abyss. While the melon focuses the world outside, the architecture within the whale's brain is focusing on a world of profound emotion. Hidden within the neocortex of great whales and dolphins are specialized cells known as spindle neurons. For a long time, these were thought to be unique to humans and great apes, the physical seat of empathy, social organization, and the ability to feel another's suffering. In whales, these cells are even more numerous and complexly arranged than in our own minds. They are the biological foundation for a depth of feeling that matches the scale of their bodies. When a pod mourns a lost member, or when a mother refuses to leave a struggling calf, they are experiencing a gravity of emotion that is as vast as the ocean itself. Theirs is a society built on the sophisticated architecture of love and belonging, a mind that is wired to connect, to care, and to remember. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows, your own heart finding a steady, empathetic rhythm with the giants of the deep, sinking comfortably into a state of shared peace, entirely safe, entirely understood. This profound emotional architecture manifests in cultural traditions that are passed down through the centuries, much like the stories we tell our children. In the waters of the Pacific Northwest, certain clans of orcas have a ritual that has been observed for generations. They gather in specific shallow bays where the floor is covered in smooth, rounded river pebbles. In a slow, rhythmic display of collective peace, the entire family will swim to the bottom and rub their bellies and sides against the stones. There is no biological necessity for this, no parasites to remove, no skin to shed. It is simply a cultural ritual, a shared family tradition of tactile pleasure and togetherness. They move together in the dappled green light, the sound of stones clicking against one another creating a quiet, rhythmic soundtrack to their family reunion. It is a heritage of the heart, a ceremony of skin and stone that binds the family to a specific place and a specific memory. While the orcas seek the comfort of smooth stones, the grey whale seeks its sustenance in the heavy, nutrient-rich blankets of the sea floor. Unlike their cousins who filter the open water, grey whales are the great ploughers of the deep. They dive to the bottom, turn on their sides, and literally scoop up mouthfuls of the soft, silty sediment. Using their powerful tongues, they press the mud through their short, coarse baleen, trapping the tiny amphipods and tube worms hidden within the muck. As they move across the shelf, they leave behind massive meandering trails, underwater furrows that reshape the geography of the ocean floor. They are the engineers of the benthos, stirring up the deep wealth of the earth and creating clouds of silt that nourish thousands of smaller creatures. It is a slow, methodical harvest, a humble and heavy work that sustains their massive forms through the long, wandering years. This heavy seafloor labour eventually gives way to a life of sun-drenched tropical ease. While many whales are defined by their epic migrations to the poles, the bride's whale is the permanent resident of the warmth. They do not travel to the ice. They remain in the temperate and tropical waters year-round, following the warm currents and the shifting schools of sardines. They are the stay-at-home whales of the world, their lives governed not by the seasons of the ice, but by the eternal summer of the equator. Because they do not need to store massive amounts of energy for a 10,000-mile journey, they are sleeker, faster, and more active than many of their larger relatives. They move through the turquoise shallows with a sudden darting grace, a flash of slate-grey skin under a burning sun, living a life of continuous warmth in the bright liquid heart of the planet. Echoing the sleekness of the bride's whale is a creature that holds the title for the fastest of all the great baleen giants. The sei whale is the sprinter of the sea, a streamlined masterpiece of biological engineering that can reach speeds of 30 miles per hour. When a sei whale decides to move, it does not lumber, it slices. Their dorsal fins are tall and curved like a scimitar, cutting through the surface with a sharp, hushing sound. They are skimming feeders, often swimming with their mouths agape at the very surface, catching the tiny copepods in the film of the water. To see a sei whale in full flight is to see the ocean's version of a thoroughbred, a creature of pure, focused momentum, moving with such speed that the water appears to boil in its wake, yet doing so with a silence and a grace that leaves the surface almost undisturbed. And as this focused momentum carries you forward, you feel your own mind skimming the surface of sleep, moving quickly, yet silently, leaving behind the ripples of the day, entering a state of pure, effortless glide. The sleek, rapid world of the sprinter stands in stark contrast to the monumental, almost exaggerated biology of the North Atlantic right whale. In the world of these slow, gentle giants, everything is scaled to the extreme. To ensure the survival of their species in a vast and lonely ocean, the males have evolved the largest reproductive organs in the animal kingdom. A single pair of testicles can weigh nearly a ton, the weight of an entire small car. This isn't a display of aggression, but a testament to a strategy of sheer, overwhelming abundance. They are peaceful, social creatures, and their biology reflects a life lived on a scale of such magnitude that our human measurements fail to capture the reality of their existence. Every beat of their heart, every breath from their twin blowholes, and every aspect of their massive forms is tuned to a slow, unwavering frequency of survival and gentleness. This theme of massive rhythmic power brings us finally to the peck slap, a rhythmic language written in the spray of the sea. Humpback whales possess the longest pectoral fins of any whale, and they use them to strike the surface with a sound that can be heard for miles. When a whale rolls onto its side and brings that massive 15-foot wing crashing down, it creates a percussion that vibrates through the water column like a drum. It is a tactile acoustic signal, a way of saying "I am here" or "come closer" in a world of endless blue. Sometimes, a whale will lie on its back and slap both fins in a rhythmic, alternating pattern, creating a splashing dance that catches the light in 1,000 directions. It is a symphony of impact and spray, a physical manifestation of the whale's presence, marking the rhythm of their lives against the vast, shifting drumhead of the ocean's surface. As the echoes of that rhythmic slapping slowly dissolve into the deep, quiet hum of the ocean, you feel your own rhythm becoming slower, more rhythmic, more certain. The ocean is vast and you are but a passenger on its gentle rolling swells. You have travelled through the dark canyons and the sunlit shallows, and now it is time to rest. The water is warm, the darkness is safe, and the giants are watching over you. Let the last ripples of the day fade away. Sink into the heavy velvet dark. The rhythmic, thunderous applause of those massive pectoral fins slowly dissolves, leaving behind a lingering vibration that travels through the water like a fading echo in a cathedral of glass. This resonant silence leads us toward a discovery so rare it felt for decades like a ghost story whispered between scientists in the dark. In the warm, sun-drenched waters of the Indo-Pacific, there swims a creature known as the Omura's whale, a being so elusive and so strikingly beautiful that it remained hidden from the eyes of the world until the very dawn of the 21st century. Imagine a sleek, streamlined form, smaller and more delicate than the gargantuan blue, draped in a canvas of asymmetrical beauty. Its body is a swirling tapestry of leaden greys and chalky whites, with delicate dark stripes that seem to mimic the way shadows dance on the seafloor. To see an Omura's whale is to witness a living mystery, a reminder that even in an age of satellites and light, the ocean still guards its most elegant secrets in the quiet, violet shadows of the deep. They move with a shy, flickering grace, a silent testament to the fact that there is a profound, enduring peace in remaining unseen, in simply existing within your own quiet truth, undisturbed by the clamour of the world above. The texture of this hidden, delicate beauty flows seamlessly into the physical sensation of a monumental stretching, an expansion that encompasses the very horizon of the whale's own body. When we look upon the throat of a rorqual whale, the family of giants that includes the blue, the fin, and the humpback, we see a series of deep, parallel furrows known as ventral grooves. These are not mere wrinkles. They are the ocean's most magnificent accordion, a masterpiece of pleated elasticity. When the whale prepares to feed, these grooves allow the throat to expand to nearly 4 times its resting size, turning the whale's mouth into a cavernous, sun-dappled cathedral capable of holding an entire swimming pool of water in a single, effortless gulp. Imagine the feeling of such total, expansive abundance, a sensation of opening yourself completely to the nourishing flow of the world, trusting in your own incredible capacity to hold, to contain, and to be filled. As the whale closes its mouth and the water is gently pressed back out through the baleen, the grooves slowly, rhythmically contract, returning to their sleek, resting state, a slow, physical sigh of satisfaction that echoes the deep, rhythmic expansion and contraction of your own resting lungs. And as this knowledge of expansion and return settles into your mind, your breathing slows, your own chest rising and falling with that same effortless rhythm, feeling yourself expand with peace and contract into a state of total, heavy relaxation. Knowing you have the capacity to hold all the stillness you need, the physical security of this contraction leads us upward to the very crown of the whale's head, where the most vital of all portals resides, the blowhole. In the world of the whale, the blowhole is a masterpiece of absolute airtight security. Unlike our own noses, which remain open to the air, the whale's blowhole is held shut by a series of powerful, specialized muscles that act like a heavy, velvet-lined plug. It takes a conscious, deliberate effort for the whale to open this portal. The resting state is one of perfect, watertight closure. Imagine the profound sense of safety that comes from such a seal, a literal barrier between the inner world and the outer currents. When the whale is submerged, it exists in a state of absolute pressurized peace, knowing that not a single drop of the cold, heavy brine can enter its sanctuary. This muscular seal is the ultimate guardian of their breath, a silent click of a lock that allows them to drift through the crushing depths with an internal world that remains warm, dry, and entirely secure, a fortress of breath held in the palm of the ocean's hand. This sense of a sealed internal world carries us into the secret history hidden within the whale's very ears, a place where time itself is recorded in layers of soft, accumulated memory. Because whales do not have the same grooming rituals as land mammals, the wax within their ear canals is never washed away. Instead, it builds up over a lifetime, forming a long, solid cylinder known as an earplug. When scientists look upon a cross-section of this plug, they see a series of alternating light and dark bands, exactly like the rings of an ancient weathered tree. Each layer represents 6 months of the whale's life. A dark band for the cold, lean months of migration, and a light band for the bright, nutrient-rich months of feeding. Within these layers, the whale's entire biography is written in chemical signatures: the stress of a stormy year, the abundance of a fruitful summer, the arrival of maturity. It is a slow, quiet accumulation of time, a life story written in the silence of the inner ear, proving that every moment we experience is stored away, layered one upon the other, creating a rich, solid foundation of wisdom and history that defines who we are in the quiet of our own being. The texture of this long accumulated history leads us to a creature that was once thought to be a mere fossil, a shadow from a prehistoric age that turned out to be very much alive. Swimming in the frigid, nutrient-rich waters of the Southern Ocean is the pygmy right whale, the smallest and most mysterious of all the baleen giants. For nearly 2 centuries they were known only by washed-up bones, but they are the sole survivors of an ancient lineage that dates back over 20 million years. They possess a skeletal structure that is unlike any other, ribs so broad, flat, and overlapping that they form a protective, bony shield around the whale's internal organs. They are the shy, armoured hermits of the deep, moving through the grey, rolling swells with a quiet, persistent longevity. To think of the pygmy right whale is to think of endurance, of a lineage that has outlasted the shifting of continents and the cooling of the poles by simply remaining small, quiet, and deeply attuned to the rhythms of the southern cold. They are a bridge to a lost world, swimming silently through our own, a reminder that the past is never truly gone, but continues to glide peacefully just beneath the surface of the present. And as you drift across that bridge between the past and the present, your body feels heavier, warmer, wrapped in the same protective, ancient stillness that has guarded the pygmy right whale for eons, sinking deeper into the soft, supporting layers of the night. This protection is felt most tangibly in the thick, insulating embrace of the blubber. A landscape of pure, stored warmth that wraps the whale in a permanent, weightless blanket. In the largest whales, this layer can be over a foot thick, a dense, oily tissue that serves as both a primary energy reservoir and a thermal fortress. But blubber is more than just fat. It is a complex, living organ, threaded with blood vessels and nerves. It allows the whale to maintain a core body temperature nearly identical to our own, even while swimming through water that is near the freezing point of salt. Imagine being perpetually wrapped in a heavy, custom-fitted cloak of warmth that also provides you with all the energy you could ever need. As the whale dives into the frigid dark, it does not feel the cold as a bite, but as a gentle external pressure that only makes the internal warmth feel more secure. It is a state of total, biological comfort, a body that has solved the problem of the cold by turning its own abundance into a shield of heat, allowing it to rest in the freezing dark with the cozy, radiant peace of a hearth fire. This internal balance of heat and cold is managed with exquisite precision through the broad, flat surfaces of the pectoral fins, the whale's own sophisticated thermostat. While the blubber keeps the core warm, the fins are where the whale interacts with the temperature of the world. Through a process known as countercurrent heat exchange, the whale can precisely control how much heat it loses to the water. In the warm tropics, they can flush these fins with blood, allowing the heat to radiate away into the blue. In the freezing poles, the blood vessels constrict, pulling the warmth back toward the heart. It is a constant, quiet calibration, a way of staying perfectly balanced in an ever-changing environment. This leads us to the feeling of your own body finding its perfect resting temperature, the way the cool air of the room meets the warmth of your blankets, creating a boundary of pure temperature-controlled bliss. You're neither too hot nor too cold, but held in that perfect golden mean of comfort, just as the whale is held in the balanced currents of the sea. The feeling of being perfectly balanced leads us into the vast echoing networks of the contact call, the long-distance murmurs that ensure no whale is ever truly alone. In the open ocean, where visibility is measured in mere feet, whales use low-frequency rumbles that can travel for hundreds, even thousands of miles. These are not the complex soaring songs of the humpback, but simple, deep moans, the acoustic equivalent of a lighthouse beam. When a blue whale emits a contact call, it is a sound so deep it is felt as a physical thrumming in the water. It says quite simply, "I am here." And across the curve of the planet, another whale, perhaps 1,000 miles away, feels that vibration in its own jawbone and rumbles back, "I am here too." It is a conversation that takes place across the scale of continents, a continuous low-frequency pulse of belonging that connects solitary wanderers across the trackless blue. Even in the silence of the deep, there is always a voice reaching out. A reminder that we are part of a vast invisible web of connection that transcends distance and time. While these voices travel outward, the whale's internal world is one of sensory purity, a world devoid of the clutter of scent. Most great whales have almost entirely lost their sense of smell. The olfactory bulbs in their brains have shrunk or disappeared entirely, as there is no need to track scents through the heavy salted water. This creates a mental landscape that is remarkably clean and focused, a world defined not by the lingering aromas of the past, but by the immediate crystalline reality of sound and touch. Imagine the mental clarity of such an existence, a mind that is not distracted by the scent of a distant storm or the aroma of a nearby shore, but is instead entirely present in the cold, pure liquid now. It is a state of sensory minimalism, a washing away of the unnecessary until only the essential remains. A clarity that mirrors the way your own mind begins to clear as you drift towards sleep, the smells and distractions of the day fading away into a clean, dark and silent void. The texture of this sensory minimalism brings us finally to the tail, the magnificent fluke, where the skin takes on a specialized, rugged topography. On the leading edge of some whale flukes, there are tiny, microscopic ridges and bumps that act like dermal denticles, much like the skin of a shark. These tiny structures organize the flow of water, preventing the formation of noisy, energy-wasting turbulence. It is a surface that is both incredibly tough and incredibly sensitive, capable of feeling the slightest shift in the water's pressure. As the whale moves its tail in a slow, rhythmic up and down motion, it is essentially feeling its way through the ocean, using the very texture of the water to guide its path. This leads us to a state of total, rhythmic movement without effort. A slow-motion glide through a world that offers no resistance, where every motion is supported, every turn is graceful, and every path is clear. And as you imagine that slow-motion glide, you feel your own body beginning to drift, moving away from the shore of the waking world, carried by a current of pure silver light. This drifting motion eventually brings us to the most peaceful of all oceanic phenomena, the falling of marine snow. In the upper sunlit layers of the sea, life is a frantic, shimmering dance of light. But as that life ends, it begins a long, slow descent toward the bottom. These tiny particles, bits of organic matter, flakes of skin, remnants of microscopic shells, clump together as they fall, taking on the appearance of white, fluffy snowflakes drifting through a dark midnight sky. This is marine snow. It falls continuously, year after year, century after century, a silent white blizzard that nourishes the creatures of the deep. It is the ocean's way of recycling its own beauty, a gentle descending shower of stardust that settles on the quiet, silty plains of the abyss. To watch the marine snow in your mind is to watch the very essence of letting go. A slow, beautiful downward drift that covers everything in a soft, quiet blanket of white. It is the final, perfect image of rest, a world where everything eventually, inevitably, and peacefully falls, just as you are falling now, deeper and deeper, into the soft, white, and silent embrace of a dreamless sleep. The gentle, silent descent of the marine snow, that dusting of oceanic stardust, eventually carpets the floor of the deep in a layer of soft, velvet white oblivion. It is a place where time is measured not by hours, but by the slow, rhythmic settling of life's quiet remnants. As this white blizzard fades into the dark, our journey carries us back to the northernmost reaches of the world, where the air is a sharp, frozen crystal, and the water is an ink-black mirror of the stars. In this frigid sanctuary, the bowhead whale performs a feat of acoustic mastery that mirrors the duality of the universe itself. Unlike almost any other mammal, the bowhead possesses the rare, beautiful ability to sing in two voices at once. Within its massive throat, it can vibrate separate tissues to produce two distinct frequencies simultaneously: a deep, earth-shaking rumble and a high, ethereal whistle, intertwined like threads of dark silk and silver light. It is a biological choir contained within a single body, a harmonic resonance that allows them to weave complex, multi-layered tapestries of sound that fill the lightless Arctic night. To hear this dual song is to understand that we are all composed of many layers, many voices and many dreams, all harmonizing together in the quiet architecture of our souls. The vibration of this dual song ripples through the water, leading us from the throat of the bowhead to the sheer, monumental scale of the blue whale's internal world. A landscape of such vastness that our human measurements begin to feel like tiny, insignificant sparks in a darkened room. Consider the great aorta, the primary vessel carrying the rich, oxygenated lifeblood from the blue whale's massive, slow-beating heart. This vessel is so wide, so cavernous, and so smooth that a human child could swim through it with ease, gliding through a warm, pulsing tunnel of life. Imagine the sensation of being carried along such a majestic internal river, a river that moves with the power of 1,000 storms, yet with a gentleness that supports every cell of the giant's body. This internal space is a cathedral of life, where the blood moves like a slow, deep tide, and the walls are thick, strong, and entirely supportive. It is a reminder of the incredible capacity we have within us, the vast hidden channels of energy and life that flow quietly beneath the surface of our awareness, carrying us forward with an unwavering silent strength. And as this knowledge of the vast internal river settles into your mind, your breathing slows. Your own pulse becoming a steady, comforting rhythm, feeling the deep, quiet flow of life within you, entirely supported, entirely at ease, sinking into the soft, warm current of the night. The feeling of being carried by a gentle internal tide brings us to the profound buoyancy of the southern right whale, a creature so rich in the soft golden oils of the sea that it floats with an effortless, gravity-defying grace. Because of their immense blubber content, these whales possess a natural positive buoyancy that makes them lighter than the water they inhabit. Even in their deepest, most profound moments of rest, they do not sink into the abyss. Instead, they float toward the surface like giant living corks of dark velvet. Imagine the total release of such an existence, the ability to let go of every muscle, to surrender every ounce of effort, and to know that the world will simply hold you up. The ocean becomes a permanent liquid cradle, a soft hand that refuses to let you fall. You are weightless. You are buoyant. You are drifting on a sea of pure golden light, where the very concept of heavy has dissolved into the salt and the foam, leaving you free to float away into the endless starry sky of your own imagination. This weightless, floating grace is passed from mother to calf in a beautiful hydrodynamic dance known as the echelon position. In the vast, lonely stretches of the open ocean, a newborn whale does not have the strength to swim the thousands of miles required for migration on its own. Instead, it tucks itself close to its mother's side, positioned perfectly within her slipstream, a pocket of moving water created by her massive, effortless momentum. As the mother glides through the blue, the force of her movement literally pulls the calf along with her. The calf does not need to beat its flukes. It simply hitches a ride on the mother's wake, moving at great speed with almost zero physical effort. It is a perfect, liquid embrace of support, a way of being carried through the world by the strength of another. Imagine being pulled through the water by a force that is much greater than your own, a force that is entirely kind, entirely protective, and entirely focused on your safety. You are gliding. You are resting. You are moving toward your destination without having to lift a single finger, supported by the invisible, powerful wake of love. While the calf is pulled along in the slipstream, its eyes are protected by a crystalline architecture that is both a shield and a jewel. The cornea of a whale's eye is not soft and vulnerable like ours, but is a thickened, toughened plate of biological glass, designed to withstand the stinging salt and the immense, crushing pressure of the deep. Yet, despite its strength, it remains perfectly, breathtakingly clear. Behind this protective shield, the eye is bathed in a thick, lubricating jelly that acts as a natural cushion, ensuring that no matter how deep the whale dives, its vision remains unclouded and at peace. It is an eye built for the long, slow gaze, an eye that looks out at the world through a window of pure, unyielding clarity. This leads us to the feeling of your own vision softening, the world behind your closed eyelids becoming a calm, dark landscape of soft focus, where the pressures of the day are held at bay by a thick, protective layer of peace, leaving your inner sight clear, quiet, and entirely relaxed. And as you settle into this clear, quiet dark, your body feels heavier, sinking deeper into the soft support of your bed, your breathing becoming a slow, rhythmic whisper of the tide. Yes to the stillness. Yes to the rest. Yes to the deep, silent blue. The crystalline clarity of the eye reflects the sophisticated internal chemistry that allows the sperm whale to master the vertical world of the abyss. Within the massive, block-shaped forehead of the sperm whale lies the spermaceti organ, filled with gallons of a rare, precious oil that changes its state with the temperature of the sea. When the whale prepares to dive, it allows cool water into its nasal passages, causing the oil to cool and solidify into a dense, heavy wax. This internal shift in state makes the whale's head heavier, helping it to sink effortlessly into the dark, crushing canyons of the deep without using a single muscle. When it is time to rise, the whale increases the blood flow to the organ, warming the wax back into a light liquid oil, which then pulls the whale back toward the surface like a silver balloon. It is a masterpiece of internal alchemy, the ability to change the very density of your being to match your environment. Imagine being able to make yourself heavy when you need to sink into sleep, and light when you wish to dream, a fluid, shifting state of being that allows you to move between worlds with the simple, quiet warming of your own heart. This shifting internal alchemy finds its external counterpart in the rugged, tactile landscape of the grey whale's skin, a surface that is often a thriving ancient mosaic of barnacles and scars. For a long time, these rough patches were seen as mere burdens, but some scientists believe they may serve as a massive tactile sensory organ. Every barnacle, every ridge, and every ancient scar is threaded with nerves, allowing the whale to feel the subtle textures of the ocean's currents, the vibration of distant storms, and the gentle touch of a calf with incredible panoramic detail. The whale's skin is a living map of its experiences, a sensory field that covers its entire gargantuan form. To be a whale is to feel the ocean with your whole body, to be an island that is alive and sensitive to every ripple in the sea. Imagine your own skin becoming a soft, wide field of sensation, feeling the gentle weight of your blankets, the cool air on your face, and the soft support beneath you with a deep, quiet appreciation. A panoramic awareness of comfort that wraps you in a state of total sensory peace. The texture of this living map carries us to the sleek, shimmering form of the minke whale, where the patterns of the skin take on a cryptic, beautiful geometry. On the flippers of many minke whales there is a striking, brilliant white band, a Zorro stripe that cuts through the dark grey like a flash of lightning. These markings are entirely unique to each individual, acting as a high contrast signal in the murky emerald waters of the feeding grounds. But even more fascinating are the chevrons and blazes that swirl across their flanks, patterns of shadow and light that break up the whale's silhouette, making them nearly invisible to the eyes of predators. They are masters of the visual whisper, of being present yet hidden, a flickering shadow in the dappled light of the surface. This leads us to the feeling of your own presence becoming a soft, flickering shadow, blending into the quiet corners of the room, receding into the peaceful, dark geometry of the night, where you are safe, hidden, and entirely at rest. Echoing this flickering, hidden grace is a biological furnace that burns quietly in the coldest depths of the sea, the hot brains of the great whales. While the ocean around them may be near freezing, the brains of whales are equipped with specialized thermogenic cells, biological heaters that maintain a constant warm temperature for their complex thoughts and memories. Even in the lightless, freezing abyss, the whale's mind remains a warm, glowing hearth of activity. They have solved the problem of the cold by carrying the fire within them. This internal warmth allows them to process the complex acoustic maps of the deep, and to hold on to the long, multi-layered dreams of their migrations without ever feeling the bite of the winter. Imagine a warm, glowing light at the center of your own mind, a quiet, flickering flame that keeps you safe and warm, even as the world outside turns cold and dark. This internal hearth is the source of your peace, a steady, radiant heat that lulls you into a state of deep, protected slumber. And as you focus on that warm internal flame, your breathing slows even further, the warmth spreading from the center of your mind through your entire body. Your limbs feeling heavy and glowing with a soft, quiet heat, entirely safe, entirely at rest. This steady internal warmth eventually leads to the most diverse and beautiful of all resting postures, the sleep of the humpback whale. Unlike the rigid, horizontal sleep of many land animals, humpbacks are the dreamers of all angles. In the quiet, blue cathedrals of the deep, you may find a humpback drifting in a perfect vertical suspension, its head pointed toward the distant, shimmering stars, or perhaps toward the dark, silent plains of the ocean floor. Others may lie on their sides, or even upside down, their massive flippers spread wide like the wings of a submerged angel. They enter a state of total liquid surrender, drifting with the slow, circular currents of the gyres. They are like giant, dark leaves falling through a blue sky that never ends. There is no up or down in the deep sleep of the whale. There is only the constant, supportive embrace of the water. To see them is to understand the ultimate form of letting go. a state where you're so relaxed, so supported, and so at peace that the orientation of the world no longer matters. You're simply a point of warmth and light, drifting in an infinite supportive blue. The infinite supportive blue eventually darkens into the deepest violet as the light of the day finally completely fades from the surface. We have travelled through the dual songs of the Arctic, through the vast internal rivers of the giants, and through the thermal hearths of the mind. We have seen the alchemy of the oil and the crystalline shield of the eye, and now, as we reach the 80 truth of the deep, the ocean itself seems to hold its breath. The water is still, the currents are quiet, the giants are resting in their vertical dreams, and you are resting with them. The journey is nearly complete, and the shore of deep, restorative sleep is just a heartbeat away. Feel the heavy velvet dark wrapping around you. Feel the warmth of your internal fire. You're a wanderer of the deep, and you have finally found your way home to the stillness. The deep violet silence of the resting giants eventually finds a pathway into a hidden liquid corridor that spans the entire globe, a secret highway of sound known as the Sofar Channel. In this specific layer of the ocean, miles beneath the churning whitecaps of the surface, the temperature and pressure of the water create a perfect acoustic lens. Sound does not dissipate here. Instead, it is trapped in a velvet tunnel of refraction, bouncing back and forth without ever touching the surface or the seabed. When a whale rumbles its low-frequency song into this channel, the notes can travel for thousands of miles, crossing entire oceans with their clarity and power intact. It is the planet's own internal library, a place where a whisper in the North Atlantic can be felt as a soft vibration in the south. Imagine your own thoughts entering such a channel, a place where they are held, protected, and allowed to drift across vast distances without any effort at all. A silent, shimmering passage where the weight of the world is replaced by the perfect guided flow of an eternal melody. The texture of this acoustic highway dissolves into the visual stillness of the surface, where the whale leaves behind a final glassy signature before vanishing into the deep. As a great whale dives, it creates what sailors call a whale footprint, a perfectly smooth circular patch of water that appears amidst the choppy waves like a mirror of polished jade. This is not caused by the tail breaking the surface, but by the massive upward surge of water displaced by the whale's powerful descent. It is a moment of impossible calm, a circle of pure, unruffled stillness that remains long after the whale is gone. To look upon this footprint is to see the ghost of a giant, a silent liquid testament to a presence that was just there, but has now surrendered to the deep. This is the quality of your own relaxation, a smooth, glassy circle of peace that remains even as your thoughts dive deeper into the quiet. A lingering stillness that blankets the surface of your mind, leaving only a calm, reflecting pool of rest. And as this stillness spreads, your breathing slows, your body feeling as calm and as unruffled as that glassy water, every tension smoothing out, every ripple fading away into a state of pure, reflecting peace. This external peace is mirrored by a profound internal altruism that seems to vibrate through the very heart of the humpback whale. In the wild, unpredictable theatre of the sea, humpbacks have been observed performing acts of mysterious and selfless protection, interceding in the hunts of orcas to shield other species. They will position their massive bodies between a predator and a vulnerable seal, or a defenseless grey whale calf using their colossal flippers and tails to create a barrier of safety. There is no biological reward for this, no gain for the humpback. It is a choice born of a deep, resonant empathy that transcends the boundaries of their own kind. It is the guardian archetype of the deep, a living shield that offers sanctuary to those in need. Imagine this same guardian energy within yourself, a part of your own mind that is vast, strong, and entirely focused on your protection. A quiet, massive presence that stands between you and the worries of the world, ensuring that your rest remains undisturbed and your spirit remains entirely safe. The strength of this guardian energy is rooted in the very foundation of the whale's being, in a skeletal architecture that is unlike anything found on the dry, hard earth. The bones of a whale are not the dense, brittle structures of land animals. They are porous, flexible, and saturated with life-giving oil. Within the honeycomb lattice of their ribs and vertebrae, the whale stores vast reservoirs of liquid lipids, making their bones a living part of their energy system. This oil-soaked skeleton is remarkably light and resilient, allowing the whale to bend and flex under the crushing weight of the abyss without shattering. It is a skeleton that is moist, a foundation that is both strong and yielding, both solid and liquid. This leads us to the feeling of your own bones becoming light and warm, as if they are being bathed from within by a soft, soothing oil, a deep, internal suppleness that allows you to sink into your bed with a feeling of absolute, unbreakable comfort. Echoing this internal suppleness is the delicate, hair-like fringe of the baleen, the soft, tactile boundary where the ocean's abundance meets the whale's hunger. If you were to touch the inner edge of a baleen plate, you would feel a texture like raw silk or the finest, softest wool. This fringe is not made of bone, but of keratin, the same material as a bird's feather or a human's hair. It is a dense, intricate forest of bristles that captures the tiniest shimmering life of the sea with a gentle, persistent touch. As the whale's massive tongue presses the water through this fringe, it is a sound like a soft rhythmic brushing, a continuous hushing whisper of rest, rest, rest. It is the texture of a soft weighted blanket, a million tiny fibres working together to hold and protect the things that are most precious, just as the blankets around you now hold you in a state of quiet, filtered peace. And as you feel that soft, brushing sensation, your breathing becomes a rhythmic whisper, a hushing sound that cleanses your mind, leaving only the pure, filtered essence of tranquility, sinking deeper and deeper into the velvet blue. This soft internal brushing finds a powerful external resonance in the language of the lobtail, where the whale speaks to the world through the force of its tail hitting the surface. When a whale lifts its massive flukes and brings them down with a flat, resounding slap against the water, it creates a sound that is both percussive and profound. This is not a splash of chaos, but a deliberate acoustic signal that sends a low-frequency boom through the water column for miles. It is a way of marking time, a way of stating presence, a way of saying, I am here and I am at peace. The vibration of that slap is a clearing force, a sound that sweeps away the clutter of the ocean and replaces it with a single, clear note of existence. Imagine a similar rhythmic pulse at the centre of your own being, a slow, steady slap of the tide against the shore, a sound that clears your mind of all remaining thoughts, leaving only the steady, comforting beat of your own resting heart. The steady beat of that heart is guided by a celestial map, written in the very light of the stars and the invisible pull of the poles. While we have spoken of the magnetic crystals within their minds, whales also possess a profound sensitivity to the cycles of the sun and the patterns of the moon. During their long migrations across the open ocean, they move with a precision that suggests an awareness of the world's orientation within the cosmos. They are celestial navigators, swimming along the silver paths of the moonlight and the golden rays of the rising sun. They are in constant, quiet conversation with the rotating earth and the distant, burning stars. It is a state of being placed, of knowing exactly where you are within the vast spiralling architecture of the universe. This brings a feeling of immense cosmic security to your rest, the knowledge that you are a part of a much larger turning world, a world that is guided by ancient, unwavering laws of light and gravity, and that you are exactly where you are meant to be. The vast cosmic security of the stars eventually filters down into the intricate elastic folds of the whale's throat, the ventral pleats that allow for the ultimate act of expansion. These pleats are a marvel of biological geometry, capable of stretching like the finest silk to accommodate a sudden, massive influx of life and water. But it is in the return to their resting state that the true beauty lies. After the expansion, the pleats slowly, rhythmically contract, returning to their sleek, streamlined form with a grace that is almost musical. This is the elastic heart of the whale. The ability to open wide to the world and then return to a state of perfect, contained stillness. This is the feeling of your own mind, the ability to let go of the day's expansions, the day's worries and thoughts, and slowly, rhythmically, contract into the sleek, quiet form of sleep. You're returning to your center. You're folding back into the peaceful, streamlined shape of your own rest. While the throat pleats manage the flow of the ocean, the whale's heart manages a flow of electrical energy that is purely monumental. The heart of a blue whale is not just a pump, it is a massive, slow-beating battery, generating an electromagnetic field that can be felt through the water as a deep, resonant thrum. This heart beats with a deliberation that is almost geological. One slow, powerful pulse, followed by a long, echoing silence. In that silence, the entire body of the whale rests. The electricity of the heart travels through the thick blubber and the oil-soaked bones, creating a field of energy that is entirely calm, entirely steady, and entirely restorative. To be near a resting whale is to be bathed in this field of slow-beating peace. Imagine this field surrounding your own bed now, a slow, rhythmic pulse of electrical calm that synchronizes with your own heartbeat, drawing you into a shared planetary rhythm of rest, a thrumming silence that carries you away. And as you sink into that thrumming silence, your breathing slows to a crawl, your mind becoming as vast and as quiet as the deep, every cell in your body glowing with a soft electrical warmth, entirely protected, entirely at peace. This final electrical warmth carries us to the end of all things, to the final, beautiful return of the whale to the earth. When a whale passes and sinks into the deep sea dark, it does not truly leave the world. In the crushing pressure of the abyss, the whale's bones eventually become part of the geological record. They are fossilized by the very salt and sediment of the sea, becoming permanent stony monuments that can endure for millions of years. This is the deep time of the whale. A transition from the world of the living to the world of the timeless stone. They become part of the mountains and the valleys of the sea floor, a quiet, skeletal memory that outlasts the rise and fall of civilizations. To think of this is to think of the ultimate form of rest, a state where you're no longer a creature of time, but a part of the earth itself. You're as solid as a mountain. You're as enduring as the stars. You're part of the ancient, silent foundation of the world, resting in a peace that is absolute, eternal, and entirely undisturbed. The eternal, stony peace of those ancient fossils leads us back to the living, breathing reality of time, and how it stretches, folds, and eventually dissolves in the world of the giants. While we often think of sleep as a long, continuous journey into the dark, the sperm whale experiences the night in brief, miraculous flashes of pure suspension. In the vast open theatre of the blue, these monumental hunters only surrender to total slumber for a few minutes at a time, short, deep bursts of rest that rarely last longer than a quarter of an hour. They hang vertically, like dark, silent monoliths suspended in a cathedral of water, their massive heads pointed toward the surface and their tails toward the abyss. For those few, precious minutes, they are completely unresponsive to the world, drifting in a state of catatonic peace, where the boundaries between the hunter and the sea entirely vanish. It is a reminder that rest does not always require a long duration. It is about the profound quality of surrender, a total, vertical letting go that allows them to return to their deep-sea wanderings refreshed and restored. One tiny, perfect fragment of a dream at a time. The brevity of that deep, vertical rest carries a texture of heightened sensitivity, leading us from the stillness of the body to the delicate sensory world of the whale's snout. If you were to look very closely at the head of a humpback whale, amidst the rough callosities and the barnacles, you would find tiny, subtle pits containing single, stiff hairs known as vibrissae. These are the ancient vestigial whiskers of the sea, specialized sensory organs that connect the whale to the tactile vibrations of the water. Each hair is threaded with a complex network of nerves, allowing the whale to feel the subtle, microscopic movements of a school of krill or the shifting temperature of a cold current against its skin. It is a tactile map of the invisible, a way of touching the ocean without ever laying a fin upon it. Imagine the delicacy of such a sensation, the feeling of the entire ocean as a living, vibrating fabric against your face. Every ripple a message, every movement a soft, brushing whisper that guides you through the dark, ensuring you're never truly lost in the void. While the vibrissae feel the movement of the water, there is a specific sacred depth where the movement of the whale itself becomes entirely effortless. A place known as the neutral buoyancy zone. As a whale dives, the increasing pressure of the ocean slowly compresses its body, changing its density until it reaches a point of perfect equilibrium with the surrounding brine. At this specific silent depth, the whale neither rises nor sinks. It simply exists in a state of weightless suspension. It is as if the ocean has decided to hold the whale in its own palms, cancelling out the pull of gravity and the push of the tide. This is the ultimate gliding depth, where the giant can travel for miles without beating its flukes, drifting through the blue like a slow-motion star across a liquid galaxy. You can feel this same suspension within your own body now, that moment where you're no longer pushing against the mattress but are being held by it, a state of perfect weightless balance where every muscle can finally, completely, and permanently let go. And as this knowledge of weightlessness settles, your breathing slows, your body feeling as if it is floating in that neutral blue zone, supported by an invisible liquid hand. And as you drift, you realize that you are part of a greater synchronized whole. The architecture of this synchronization is most strikingly visible in the cold, churning waters where the orcas gather to hunt. To watch a pod of orcas create a washing machine wave is to witness a masterpiece of collective liquid choreography. Moving as a single, multi-ton organism, the pod will line up in perfect formation and rush toward a floating ice flow, diving at the very last second to force a massive rhythmic wave of water over the surface. It is a wave born of pure, synchronized intent, a physical manifestation of a family's shared thought. This coordination requires a level of trust and timing that is almost telepathic, a bonding of individuals into a single, unstoppable force of nature. Yet, even in this display of power, there is a quiet, rhythmic beauty. The sound of the water, the spray of the foam, and the silent underwater signals that keep the family in perfect, unwavering harmony as they move through the turbulent sea. The invisible threads of this harmony are carried in the very breath that the whales release into the air, a mist that contains more than just vapour and salt. Scientists now study the health and the history of these giants by collecting the blow, the fine, oily spray that erupts from the blowhole. Within this mist there are microscopic fragments of DNA, hormones, and the chemical signatures of the whale's entire life. It is the invisible essence of the giant, cast into the wind like a prayer. When you see a whale blow at the surface, you're seeing a cloud of its own story, a biological soul print that lingers for a moment in the sunlight, before dissolving back into the atmosphere. This leads us to the feeling of your own breath as a soft ethereal mist, carrying away the remnants of your thoughts, leaving your mind clear and your spirit light. A gentle release of all that you've been throughout the day, allowing it to drift away into the quiet, dark sky. Echoing this release of essence is the profound chemical taste of the Arctic Sea, sensed through the narwhal's spiraled wand. We return to the tusk of the narwhal, but this time we look not at its shape, but at its incredible sensory depth. This tusk is essentially a giant inverted tooth, covered in millions of microscopic pores that allow the cold, salt water to enter and touch the sensitive nerve endings inside. The narwhal is literally tasting the chemistry of the world. It can sense the salinity of the ice, the presence of distant prey, and the subtle shifts in the ocean's minerals simply by moving through the water. It is a life lived in a state of constant sensory revelation, a world where every current has a flavour, and every dive is a journey through a landscape of chemical light. Imagine the richness of such a world, where the very air you breathe and the water you feel is a source of continuous quiet knowledge, guiding you with a delicacy that is both sharp and beautiful. While the narwhal tastes the cold, other giants must manage the intense internal heat generated by their massive moving bodies. The pectoral fins of a humpback whale are not just for steering, they are magnificent thermal radiators. When a whale has exerted itself, these massive 15-foot limbs can flush with blood, turning the pale underside of the fin a soft rosy pink. The cold ocean water acts as a cooling balm, drawing the excess heat away and restoring the whale's internal balance. It is a biological heat map, a way of shedding the fire of activity to return to the cool, quiet peace of the depths. This is the feeling of your own warmth now, the way the heat of your body is gently regulated by the cool air and the soft texture of your sheets. A slow, steady cooling that tells your nervous system it is time to rest, time to settle, time to return to the quiet internal hearth of the night. And as that cooling peace spreads through your limbs, your breathing becomes even slower, a deep, oceanic sigh. Yes to the cooling, yes to the balance. Yes to the encroaching dark. This balance of heat and cold is most sacred in the shallow, sun-drenched nurseries of the lagoons. In these protected bays, the water is not just warm, but incredibly dense with salt. This high salinity acts as a natural liquid cradle, providing a buoyance that is even greater than the open sea. For a newborn calf, this density is a gift of pure safety. It allows the small, fragile body to float with almost zero effort, cradled by the salt as it learns the rhythm of the breath. The mother whale rests in these shallow turquoise waters, her massive body half submerged in the light, the salt air thick and warm around her. It is a place of absolute concentrated nurture, a womb of the ocean where the outside world cannot reach. You can feel this same dense support beneath you now, as if the very air of the room has become thick and supportive, holding you in a cradle of pure, unyielding safety where no worry can enter and no stress can stay. The safety of the lagoon is a far cry from the ancient dusty paths once trodden by the whale's ancestors. Yet those paths are still remembered within the very structure of the body. Deep within the muscular flanks of the whale, there are tiny vestigial muscles still attached to the pelvic bones, muscles that have no function in the water but were once used for walking upon the land. These are the phantom limbs of the deep, a quiet internal memory of a world once known. They are a testament to the fact that we carry our history within us, even when we have moved into entirely new realms of being. The whale has surrendered the land, but the memory of the walk remains as a soft internal echo. This is the quality of your own history, the way the memories of your day are now becoming phantom echoes, distant, fading traces that no longer have any power over your present, as you move further and further away from the land of wakefulness and into the deep, dark sea of sleep. Finally, the journey brings us to the realization that the entire ocean is wrapped in a continuous global web of song, a net of sound that never truly ends. Because whale songs can travel for thousands of miles through the Sofar Channel, the ocean is never truly silent. At any given moment, somewhere in the deep, a whale is singing. These voices cross over one another, weaving an acoustic tapestry that spans the entire planet. It is a continuous, low-frequency hum of life, a planetary lullaby that has been playing for millions of years. Even when you cannot hear it, the song is there, vibrating through the water and the earth, a steady, rhythmic pulse of connection that binds the furthest reaches of the globe together. You are a part of this song. Your breath, your heartbeat, and your quiet presence are a single note in this eternal, oceanic chorus. And now, as the 100th truth of the deep settles over you, you allow your own voice to fade into that great global silence, knowing that the song will continue without you, and that you are finally, completely, and beautifully free to rest. The final truth of the deep is not found in the monumental scale of the whale's body, nor in the echoing reach of its song, but in the profound, silent role it plays as the ultimate weaver of the Earth's living tapestry. We have spoken of the whale as a gardener, a guardian, and a wanderer. But the final secret is that the whale is a bridge between the stars above and the dark, ancient fire at the heart of our world. Every great whale is a physical vessel of the cosmos. Their bodies are composed of the same ancient carbon and heavy elements forged in the hearts of dying suns billions of years ago. By pulling that carbon from the sky and carrying it down into the eternal, crushing silence of the abyss, they are performing a sacred planetary alchemy. They are the anchors of our atmosphere, the silent regulators of the world's breath, ensuring that the delicate balance of heat and cold remains perfect for all life to dream. When a whale finally rests on the ocean floor, it becomes a whale fall, not an end, but a spectacular century-long beginning. In that lightless sanctuary, it creates a cathedral of life where none existed before, nourishing the strange, shimmering creatures of the dark with its own substance. It is the most profound lesson the sea has to offer, that we are most powerful when we give ourselves back to the world, and that our greatest legacy is the life we sustain long after our own song has faded. The whale is the memory of the ocean made flesh, a living record of the planet's journey from a ball of fire to a world of liquid sapphire. To understand the whale is to understand that we are all part of one single breathing organism, a world where the heartbeat of a giant in the Pacific ripples through the air you breathe and the dreams you hold tonight. It is the final, beautiful truth that you are never truly separate from the deep, and the deep is never truly separate from you. They are the liquid mind of the planet, and in their silence, we find the wisdom to finally completely let go. And now, the long journey through the 101 wonders of the deep is reaching its quiet, inevitable conclusion. The light has faded completely from the surface, and the world of the waves has become a vast indigo void, a space of pure, undisturbed tranquility. Feel the weight of your body, so heavy, so warm, sinking into the soft support beneath you, just as the whale sinks into the neutral buoyancy of the deep. There is no more need for words, no more need for thoughts. The narrative is dissolving now, melting into the gentle rhythmic pulse of the sea. Your breathing is a slow, steady tide, washing in and washing out. The room around you is a safe, dark lagoon, protected from the wind, protected from the noise, protected from the day. Every concept we have shared tonight is now a part of your own internal library, resting quietly in the soft velvet shadows of your subconscious. You do not need to remember, because the ocean remembers for you. The songs of the humpbacks, the white halos of the belugas, the ancient wisdom of the bowheads. They're all swirling together into a single beautiful dream. You're drifting further and further away from the shore, leaving behind the flickering lights of the waking world. The water is warm, the silence is absolute, and the peace is infinite. Your mind is as clear and as calm as a whale's footprint on a glassy sea, reflecting only the stars, reflecting only the dark, sinking deeper and deeper into the soft white blizzard of marine snow, where everything is quiet, where everything is still. You're safe, you're held, you're home in the deep, and now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.